The Nicomachean Ethics of Aristotle. Read by George Pitropogiannakis. Book 1, Chapter 1. Every art and every science reduced to a teachable form, and in like manner every action and moral choice aims, it is thought, at some good, for which reason a common and by no means a bad description of the chief good is that which all things aim at. Now, there plainly is a difference in the ends proposed, for in some cases they are acts of working, and in others certain works or tangible results beyond and beside the acts of working, and where there are certain ends beyond and beside the actions, the works are in their nature better than the acts of working. Again, since actions and arts and sciences are many, the ends are likewise come to be many. Of the healing art, for instance, health; of the shipbuilding art, a vessel; of the military art, victory; and of domestic management, wealth, are respectively the ends. And whatever of such actions, arts, or sciences range under some one faculty, as under that of horsemanship, the art of making bridles, and all that are connected with the manufacture of horse furniture in general. This itself again, and every action connected with war, under the military art, and in the same way others under others. In all such, the ends of the master arts are more choice-worthy than those ranging under them, because it is with a view to the former that the latter are pursued. And in this comparison, it makes no difference whether the acts of working are themselves the ends of the actions or something further beside them, as is the case in the arts and sciences we have been just speaking of. Since then, of all things which may be done, there is some one end which we desire for its own sake, and with a view to which we desire everything else. And since we do not choose in all instances with a further end in view, for then men would go on without limit, and so the desire would be unsatisfied and fruitless. This plainly must be the chief good, i.e., the best thing of all. Surely then, even with reference to actual life and conduct, the knowledge of it must have a great weight. And, like archers with a mark in view, we shall be more likely to hit upon what is right. And if so, we ought to try to describe, in outline at least, what it is, and of which of the sciences and faculties it is the end. Now, one would naturally suppose it to be the end of that which is most commanding and most inclusive. And to this description, politic plainly answers, for this it is that determines which of the sciences should be in the communities, and which kind individuals are to learn, and what degree of proficiency is to be required. Again, we see also ranging under this the most highly esteemed faculties, such as the art military and that of domestic management and rhetoric. Well then, since this uses all the other practical sciences, and moreover lays down rules as to what men are to do, and from what to abstain, the end of this must include the ends of the rest, and so must be the good of man. And grant that this is the same to the individual and to the community, yet surely that of the latter is plainly greater and more perfect to discover and preserve. For to do this, even for a single individual, were a matter for contentment, but to do it for a whole nation and for communities generally were more noble and godlike. Such then are the objects proposed by our treatise, which is of the nature of politak, and I conceive I shall have spoken on them satisfactorily, if they be made as distinctly clear as the nature of the subject matter will admit. For exactness must not be looked for in all discussions alike, any more than in all works of handicraft. Now, the notions of nobleness and justice with the examination of which politic is concerned, admit of variation and error to such a degree that they are supposed by some to exist conventionally only, and not in the nature of things. But then again, the things which are allowed to be goods admit of a similar error, because harm comes to many from them, for before now some have perished through wealth and others through valor. We must be content then, in speaking of such things and from such data, to set forth the truth roughly and in outline. In other words, since we are speaking of a general matter and from general data, to draw also conclusions merely general, and in the same spirit should each person receive what we say. For the man of education will seek exactness so far in each subject as the nature of the thing admits, it being plainly much the same absurdity to put up with a mathematician who tries to persuade instead of proving, and to demand strict demonstrative reasoning of a rhetorician. Now, each man judges well what he knows, and of these things he is a good judge. On each particular matter, then he is a good judge who has been instructed in it, and in a general way the man of general mental cultivation. Hence, the young man is not a fit student of moral philosophy, for he has no experience in the actions of life, while all that is said presupposes and is concerned with these. And in the next place, since he is apt to follow the impulses of his passions, he will hear as though he heard not, and to no profit, the end in view being practice and not mere knowledge. And I draw no distinction between young in years and youthful in temper and disposition, the defect to which I allude being no direct result of the time, but of living at the beck and call of passion, and following each object as it rises. For to them that are such, the knowledge comes to be unprofitable, as to those of imperfect self-control. But to those who form their desires and act in accordance with reason, to have knowledge on these points must be very profitable. Let thus much suffice by way of preface on these 3 points: the student, the spirit in which our observations should be received, and the object which we propose.